The Caged Girls by Vahid Sajjadifar. Based on the true events in the south of Iran.
The flight of birds is so captivating and delightful. I wish I had wings too, and could fly in the sky to escape the confinement that life has become. Migratory birds easily abandon their nests and fly wherever they please without any permission from family or visas. Many days I spend hours watching the birds fly in the sky of the Persian Gulf and feel envious of their freedom. Sometimes I wonder how a man can bear to cage these free creatures. Restricting them to a small cage is a great injustice to beings whose nature is tied to flight, migration, and freedom. Yet one cannot expect more from humans who imprison their kind. I believe that the essence of many girls like me is akin to caged birds, always yearning for freedom but never learning to fly in the skies. We were sentenced without trial to spend our entire lives in the confinement of prison. Except for the vague memories, I don't remember much from before the age of 5. However, I remember a vivid memory of the severe beating I received from my father on my 5th birthday. The beating was his response to the joy of a 5-year-old girl dancing on her birthday. Since that day, I realized I had to internalize happiness to avoid punishment. As I grew older physically and mentally, my life became more restricted, and my father's and brother's resentment towards me grew stronger. My mother was also unable to defend her only daughter. Of course, I didn't expect much from a woman who had spent her entire life imprisoned by men. My mother was enslaved by her father and brothers until she got married at 11, and then was transferred to my father's prison. 11 is an age when girls are still enjoying playing with dolls, but many of them, like my mother, must start taking care of the household. These days, people are suffering greatly from poverty and economic hardships, but honestly, I'm not very upset about it. If poverty and unemployment hadn't plagued our neighborhood, I would have been married off like my mother in my childhood, and I would never have seen 22 as a bachelor. My father is waiting for a suitor who has a proper income so that he can provide him with a fortune. When I was a teenager, I was very afraid that they would force me to marry a man 20 years older, just like my mother. Kulthum, my childhood friend, wasn't as lucky as I was. When she was 12, her father gave her away to a 42-year-old man who had 4 children from his previous wife. His first wife had passed away, but the reason for her death was unclear. Kulthum was burning like a candle and melting away. I was her only companion, and after her marriage, we could rarely see each other. But our intimacy never faded. We shared all our heart hatches and secrets. Sometimes we would stealthily pick up one of my brother's phones and surf the internet. For girls like us, imprisoned in our homes, it was thrilling to see what the world was really like. Thanks to social media, we were one step ahead of previous generations. Our mothers never had the chance to know what. One day when Kulthum came to her father's house, she told me she was pregnant. I quietly picked up one of my brother's phones, and together we read a lot about pregnancy on the internet. Kulthum was both happy and anxious. I tried to comfort her and told her that if her child was a girl, we would do everything in our power to ensure she wouldn't suffer like us. We imagined that if she had a daughter, with our help, she could continue her education and go to university. Both Kulthum and I really wanted to go to university, but we had both only studied up to the 3rd year of middle school, and despite our excellent grades, our fathers didn't allow us to attend high school. Our fathers' restrictions on our education had thwarted our dreams. They believed that a girl should learn housekeeping and child-rearing. They saw educated and employed girls as the guiltiest people. They were strongly opposed to women working outside the home, claiming that only dishonorable men allowed their wives and daughters to work. But I think deep down they feared that educated and working women would become dominant and overpower them. Men like my father, brothers, and Kulthum's husband were deeply insecure about women's power. In their view, whatever a man does is noble, but if a woman does the same thing, it is despicable and filthy. They believe that education and employment, although suitable for men, are symbols of sin and immorality for women. Kulthum and I had learned from internet searches that there are many successful women in Iranian and other societies. We thought that there had to be many good fathers, brothers, and husbands who supported these successful women. Kulthum said if I have a daughter, she won't have a good father, and no matter how hard we try, we cannot provide her with freedom. So it is better to have a boy rather than an unlucky girl. Kulthum wasn't pessimistic, she was just realistic. We both knew that no matter how hard we tried, we would still be defeated by the men in our family who would decide the fate of that innocent child. About 3 months later, Kulthum was back at her father's house unexpectedly. I realized something bad must have happened. My guess was correct. Her bruised face indicated that she had been severely beaten. Tears welled up in our eyes unconsciously when we saw each other. I hugged her, and she said she had lost the baby. I asked why, and Kulthum explained that after a gender prediction test, they found out the baby was a girl. As soon as they entered the house, her husband brutally beat her. He beat her so viciously that her innocent baby was miscarried. An ambulance came and took her to the hospital, but it was too late. After she was discharged from the hospital, both her family and her husband's family blamed her for the incident. 2 weeks after Kulthum's miscarriage, we heard her mother's mournful cry. Kulthum had peacefully passed away the night before by taking a handful of sleeping pills. I was deeply saddened by the loss of my only companion and friend. Once again, I found myself staring at the birds in the sky, wishing Kulthum could fly like them and go where justice was more than just a meaningless word for her.
Thanks for watching.